These are some of my all-time favorite pencils, and today I'm going to show you why. Hi, Shanna Rowe Jackson here from Caution Artists at Play. Welcome back to my channel. Today we are going to be taking a closer look at the Derwent Drawing Colored Pencils. These are a fun and fantastic earth tone themed pencil, and they're very unique. Now, I want to mention this video is not sponsored. I bought these pencils. You probably saw them in my recent art haul video. This is not the first set that I've had of these. I've been using these for years, and I just recently bought the full set again to replace the pencils that I've been using. So you have seen me use these in videos before, but I've never really done a video featuring them specifically. And so I thought this would be a good time, and some of you expressed interest in that on my recent art haul video. And so here we are. Now, this is the 24 set. This is the largest set that they offer. They only have 24 colors in this line, which is a shame, but at the same time, it's a really interesting line because they are all just kind of earth tones. They kind of tout them as their fur and feather pencil, so they're fantastic for creating wildlife, but they're also a beautiful landscape pencil, and I feel like you could probably get away with doing some portraits of people as well with them. It's just a very unique look. They are the standard Derwent look. You've got the thicker barrel, and, you know, they have the same kind of branding as you would expect to see with Derwent. They have the Derwent drawing label here, the color and number here, and then the color is painted at the top. So very signature Derwent look, but they've got this nice earthy, umbery kind of color barrel, which sets them apart from some of their others. And I gotta tell you, these are just fantastic. They feel great to work with. They're a little different than regular colored pencils because they're more of a clay base, so they don't feel as waxy or as oily as other colored pencils. They're super soft, super opaque, and you can kind of feel that difference when you're working with them. It kind of feels like you've picked up some dry clay and have just been scribbling with it, but they're just fantastic. So let's take a look at the colors that they offer. Chinese white, cool gray, warm gray, ivory black, chocolate, ruby earth, Mars violet, terracotta, Venetian red, sanguine, Mars orange, sepia, yellow ochre, wheat, brown ochre, warm earth, olive earth, crag green, green shadow, pale cedar, smoke blue, ink blue, solway blue, and light sienna. And something else that's fantastic about these pencils is that every color in this line is either a 7 or an 8 on their light fast ratings, which is excellent light fast ratings according to Derwent. And I think there's only one of them. It's either the ink blue or the smoke blue. I can't remember which one. That's a 7. The rest are all 8. So these are like 100% light fast. So you don't have to worry. They are also available open stock. So you can pick out individual colors if you fall in love with one. I personally use the Derwent Drawing Chinese White in almost every single colored pencil piece I do, no matter what brand I'm working with, because it is so opaque. It is my favorite white, and it works really, really well. And their black is also very, very dark and just beautiful. So if you saw my recent art haul video, you know that I have already swatched them on white paper. It can be a little hard to see here, but this gives you an idea of what they look like on white. Nice, earthy, kind of pale. They're not shiny. They're nice and matte. Just beautiful colors. But I wanted to show you what they look like on some black paper. This is the Legion. I think this might be some of their cold press paper, but their cold press paper has a little bit of a smoother side, so we're just going to use that. And I just wanted to give you an idea of just how much these pop. These are fantastic when working on a tinted or a black paper. They're very opaque. Let me see this. This is their like darker blue. Even that shows up really beautifully. For subtle tones, I'm not necessarily going to swatch them all, but I do want you to have an idea. Like, look at that. Look how well that pops. That's the terracotta. I love these on tinted and black paper. They're really great for creating things like moody landscapes and even like moody portraits. I've done a really nice moody portrait of one of my friends. I'll pop that up here so you can see. Look at that. That is super exciting. So the opacity is unmatched, I think, in colored pencils. And they even sound a little different. I just love them so much. So I'm going to do a little piece now. I'm going to probably do a piece on some of the Canson Me tints because it's a nice tinted ground. And I think I want to do either a landscape, maybe something with trees, or maybe a mossy rock or something like that. So yeah, stay tuned and I will show you these beautiful pencils in action. So starting off on my little project, I'm just doing a small 5x7 piece. As I mentioned, I am using Canson Me tints. I think this might be the maize color, something like that. I will link everything in the description below. This is a very good way to use these pencils, I think. I love to use them on tinted paper because it really shows how opaque they are. As you can see, that white is running right over the background color. And of course, when choosing any type of colored background, it is good to choose a color that complements the piece that you are trying to work on. And so this is a nice kind of warm, earthy color to begin with, and I'm going for some fall trees, like a November fall trees, you know, just before all the leaves are gone, but they're starting to get brown and everything like that. And so I thought this was a perfect way to kind of complement the overall piece, and it's a nice background tone to make everything cohesive and to, you know, tie everything together. And so that's why I chose a colored paper. I am using the smooth side of the paper. This paper is a really good paper for colored pencil to begin with. It's not the heaviest weight out there, but it really works well. It takes a beating. And I laid in the background sky first. I was really messy with this. I was okay with some of the background color of the paper showing, and I just kind of went ham on it. I just went right in, and I had already sketched out some light lines of the trees. I used a colored mechanical pencil. I'll link that in the description below as well. Just an orange pencil. And I just laid in a light sketch, and now I'm going over that, obviously. I do end up using every color in this just to kind of show the variety you have, but it is important to note that this is a limited color palette. There are only 24 colors. They're all earth tones, so that can be kind of seen as a con. So as I mentioned before, I like to use these for things like moody landscapes or, you know, just moody things in general. Like I also did a fun surrealistic piece of Little Red Riding Hood and a wolf using these pencils. I showed you earlier in the video the portrait I did of my friend. And it really does, if you are using these on their own, it's a really great way to get that nice mood or set a tone. It's great for creepy scenes, but it's also really good for just like mild landscapes. And so it's something to keep in mind. These aren't necessarily a standalone pencil unless your main style is something like this that is kind of moody and kind of not necessarily dark, but a little bit more on the subdued side of things. But other than that, I think they're fantastic for like a supplementary set. You're not going to necessarily find these colors in other lines, just like you're not going to find bright colors in this line. These are really, really good to throw in with your other colored pencils. I use at least one of these pencils in every piece I do. Usually the white one, but there's a few others that I pull in because they are just different and so opaque that sometimes whatever piece I'm working for, even if it's just a portion of it, calls for these pencils. And one of the main reasons I wanted to do this video is because I feel like these pencils are just not talked about enough. They may have their limitations color-wise, but I feel like they're overall an underrated product. And I feel like not enough people seem to know about them. And also, you just can't beat the Lightfast ratings. You can buy this whole set and not have to worry about any of them fading and not have to worry about not being able to use some because they fade. It's incredible. So that is something that I really love about these. I have been working with them for almost a decade. Now, obviously, this kind of style, this kind of foresty, earthy, picture is an ideal subject when working with these. However, I'm working on another colored pencil piece right now as part of my candy series where I am doing saltwater taffy. And saltwater taffy is really pastel, and there are some kind of pastel-y tones, albeit they're earthy. They're not as pastel as other pastel tones, but they work really well for that subtle color that I need in my candy drawing as well. And so don't discount these just because there's only 24 colors and they all tend to be earth tones. They can be used on a variety of subjects and they're very versatile. One thing to note is they are very soft. They don't break in the same way that Prismacolor breaks. You know, they're a high quality product, but they do crumble a little bit. You're going to have a little bit more dust with these than you might with other colored pencils. So it's something to keep in mind because they will smudge easily. That being said, that's also a plus side when you are wanting to blend. And they blend out great with odorless mineral spirits. They also blend really well with the Holbein melts and Zest It. They also blend really easily with just a blending pencil, but with this piece, most of the piece, I just blended with the pencils themselves because that's how soft they are. They do have a thicker core, so it can be a little bit more difficult between the softness and the core to get that soft detail, and the pencil wears down a little bit faster, but a little goes a long way as well. And though the colors themselves may be muted, they really pack a punch. And because they're so soft, like I said, a little goes a long way. You can cover larger areas faster than with other pencils I have found, and the blendability helps with that as well. This piece took me maybe a little over an hour, and some of that is because I had to stop and find some things that I thought I had off to the side. I had to bring in some glassine halfway through because I was so excited to start this piece that I forgot to do that. And for some reason, I started on the left side of the page, and I don't like to do that as a lefty because things smear, and especially with these pencils. But that was just out of my own excitement. So things like that kind of delayed it a little bit. But this is actually a pretty detailed piece, and it really only took me a little over an hour. And so that's something to note. Yes, it is a 5x7, but with this amount of detail, a lot of times, if you're working with something like, say, a polychromos pencil, which is a little bit on the harder side and takes a lot more layers, it would take a little bit longer than it does with this. And they layer pretty well considering how opaque they are and how thick of a lay down one stroke is. I was really happy with the amount of layering I was still able to do. They're just a really strong pencil that way. You don't have to layer as much. They're not as transparent as other colored pencils, but they don't fill the tooth as fast as you would expect. They do fill the tooth a little faster than some pencils, but not as bad as you would expect for as soft and as creamy and good as they feel. These are available open stock, as I mentioned. I will link it in the description below if you want to try these pencils. The link will be right down there for easy access for you. All in all, I was really happy with the way this piece came out. It flowed really well, and I think it's a good way to showcase these pencils. And don't be afraid to use these pencils in other ways, as I mentioned before as well. Yes, I'm doing a forest scene here, but again, they're really versatile. And there's some colors here that I can't really find in other places. Sometimes I do wish they would come out with more colors just because I love these pencils so much, but at the same time, I feel like the limited color palette is one of the things that makes this line so unique. Whew, I made quite the mess, didn't I? But it was worth it. I had so much fun drawing these little trees, and I think that this was a great subject to showcase these pencils. I love them, as I mentioned before, for landscapes and even some fun, moody portraits, and of course, wildlife. I just think they're a great, unique addition to any colored pencil collection, and I love them, and I hope that you enjoyed watching this video and that you learned some more about these pencils, and I will see you next week. You have a fantastic day. Bye. Wait, don't go away just yet. If you liked this video, you're sure to like this one too. Also, don't forget to hit subscribe.